Hi guys, welcome back. In this video, I will be attempting to do the popular knotless braids on my hair for the first time. As you can see, I have already sectioned the hair. I did about 6 rows and then I pinned them up and out of the way. The hair that I will be using in this video is the 3x Ghana pre-stretched 60-inch hair in the color 1. I will also be using Red One's Aqua hair wax as my edge control. Let's get into the video. So the first thing I did was pre-section the pieces of hair that I was going to feed into the knotless braid. At first, I decided to use all sections of the same size, and as you can see, they are kind of thick because I knew I wanted the braid to be of medium size. I did apply hair wax to the entire length of the hair, but I focused more on the roots and the ends because I know those would be the sections that needed it more. Once I was ready to braid, I separated the section into 3 smaller sections. I tried to make them fairly equal. Then I started by doing half a braid. Once my index finger was sticking out on the right, I fed in the first piece of hair. Then I continued, and once my index finger was sticking out on the right again, I fed in the second piece of hair. I tried my best to get the feeding hair as close to my scalp as possible. And I basically just continued this process until I had fed in the 5 pieces of hair. First mistake, not ensuring that I actually had the feed-in braid secured before I continued to braid down the length of the hair. This led to some random pieces of loose braids as I was patting down the length of the hair. Second mistake, not keeping tension on the braid as I braided down. And I don't mean holding the hair tight, I mean vertical tension. That bump right there, that came from me bending the hair as I relieved some of the tension. Third mistake, not detangling the hair as I fed in each piece of braid. Fourth mistake, consistently repositioning the way I held the braid. So as you can see here, I tried to change the way I was holding onto the braid. That did not work, so I then had to reposition, and the consistent back and forth led to twists in the braid, and I did not want that. At this point, my husband pointed out how big of a bump it was, but I decided to finish the braid just to see how it turned out. I think I was trying to squeeze the bump away, but that did not work. So guys, that was the first braid and I did not like it, so I redid it. What I did differently this time around was I only fed in 4 pieces of hair, and that is because I felt like the last braid was a bit too big for my liking. And as you're going to see, I tried my best to keep the vertical tension on the hair. Basically, I just pulled down on the hair as I braided, and it worked. I still struggled with the detangling and with how secure I held the feet in braid, but everything takes time. What I also tried to do was maintain the positions of my hands as I braided down, and I only changed the position when it became too uncomfortable for me to continue to braid that way. Eventually, I did change the technique. This time around, I braided 3 times. That is, my index finger stuck out 3 times, and on the 3rd time, I applied the first feet in braid. What I also did differently here is I started with small sections, and then I doubled the size until I got the size I had at the beginning. So basically, I first fed in a small piece of hair, and then I doubled that for the second piece, and then the third piece was double the second piece, and I continued until I think it was the 5th time when I got the thickness that I showed you in the beginning. What I did realize, however, is that the longer I kept my hands in this position, the better my natural hair was tucked into the braid. So the braids moving forward after this one, I tried to keep my hands in this position until my natural hair was completely tucked, and then I would change the position of my hand to make it easier to braid the hair. By the time I got to the top, I was still maintaining the technique of braiding 3 times and then feeding in the first braid. However, it was kind of difficult to feed in the braid at this angle and still maintain the vertical tension on the hair. So it did take longer to do these braids than it did the others. By this time, I was on my 4th pack of hair. I think I actually opened the 4th pack to start this specific braid. So 7 hours later and I was finished, and I loved it. I was so proud. I then dip the hair into some hot water and I try my best to pull on the hair with the towel as I dried it. I did leave out this section, I think, when I was dipping in the hot water, but I did end up correcting it. So guys, these are the results of my first attempt at knotless braids. How did I do? Please comment below how you think I did. So that's it guys, thanks for watching.